convictions for sexual offences by foreign nationals have shot up by 62% in just 4 years, according to Ministry of Justice data. They now make up 1 in 7 offenders, with theft up 78%, robbery nearly 19%. These are way above the figures for British nationals. This comes as migration hits record highs, with nearly 28,000 small boats arriving so far this year. 50,000 plus under Keir Starmer, and 659 arrived just yesterday when the sun shone and the sea was calm. Let's get a word on this from Reform Councillor for Epping, Annie May O'Neill, with us. Annie, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. I mean, these are shocking figures, and, you know, one can dance around the sensitivities of talking about, you know, different people from different countries. But we have to be brave. We have to fess up and say, no, actually, the figures say this. We need to look at why and address it or sort it out.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the issue that we have in the United Kingdom is that people are too scared to speak up about the issues surrounding foreign nationals. And the problem is that people are scared to be called racist. I mean, I've spoken to so many young girls who have been abused on the train or assaulted walking down the street. And they said, well, I was scared. I didn't know how to identify them. The way that the world's working at the moment is as soon as you state their colour or where they're from, you seem as a racist. I think that's absolutely barbaric.
Yeah, and there is the problem. That seems to have been literally, simple as that sounds, I think that has been the sticking point in people having an honest conversation about this.
Well, yeah, exactly, 100%. And the problem is it's not a left or right wing issue. The fact is it's safety. Yeah. These are young people who are being assaulted in their own country, and yet the government aren't taking it very seriously. We're still connected to the European Convention of Human Rights, and as we've seen with Farage's Operation on Restoring Justice, the problem that's causing is we have so many issues in the court of law nowadays, including one with a defendant named RC. He was a sexual predator to children, charged, found guilty, from Zimbabwe in 2018, was open for deportation in 2021, and was refused deportation because under Article 3, which is the freedom from being tortured, his lawyers claimed that he couldn't go back home as he was gay and had autistic problems. So I think the way that the United Kingdom is coming around this is putting foreign offenders before British young people, and that is absolutely ludicrous.
Absolutely spot on. And of course, you know, the difficulty here is that the figures speak for themselves. I don't believe for one second you are more likely to commit, in this case, a sexual offence or any other offence just because you happen to not be white. But yes, it is possible that you've come from a culture that has very different ideas of, for example, the rights of women and young girls, how you treat the opposite sex. Clearly, there is a correlation there.
Well, the irony is the government, and you can go and look on it, the government website, gov.uk, provide advice for young women travelling alone or in groups to different countries and cultures. Yeah. They even include that they may face risks and extra obstacles when going there. But yet they allow these men to come into our country and state that these are peaceful asylum seekers. But they're warning us about going to their own country. Yeah. I think that is just ludicrous. The fact that they're concerned about us travelling to their countries and the risks that young women will take, but aren't concerned about who is actually entering the country.
You're a young woman yourself. It's interesting. We seem to have a long line of guests this afternoon, all of whom are under 30 or more or less. And yeah, you can speak from your age group perspective. You mentioned at the beginning, you know, friends of yours. What's the mood on the street, to put it that way, in terms of safety for young girls? What are you sensing?
Well, the issue is it's almost luck coming home. I mean, I travel up to London quite a bit on the tube, and it's luck when you get home and you haven't been assaulted, or you haven't been mugged, or you haven't been completely stared at the whole way home and felt so uncomfortable. And it's not right. I mean, don't get me wrong, women have always been the target in society, and many, many people are aware of that. But the issue that we have nowadays is we can't find these undocumented males that are completing these acts, because they come here, they throw their passports in the river, and they come here and then we don't know who they are, and they're given different names. For all we know, the cultures they're coming from. I mean, Nigel Farage mentioned in his speech today that they come from countries where women aren't even second-class citizens, and they're putting to a society where young girls at secondary school have skirts shorter than up to the knee, and that's fine, and we're a Western society, but it's almost like putting a fox in a chicken coop and expecting it to integrate. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, and if you've come from a highly orthodox conservative regime, as many of these people, and if you've come from a Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, where, as you say, there are no rights for women in places such as that, and you'd be lucky to even get a knock on the door from the local police if you were accused of some kind of sexual assault. If that's where you've come from, and you suddenly arrive in the United Kingdom, into a Western democracy where women can dress how they want to dress, they can be as independent and as independent-minded when it comes to what they wear as they wish. That's the beauty of being in a democracy. You don't have to consider that you shouldn't have to consider that, well, I better not wear this because somebody might sexually assault me. But that's where we're at, isn't it? If you have a disproportionate amount of people from certain culture, you are going to inevitably end up with this rather grim statistic that we're talking about here today.
Well, unfortunately, we've also found out under the Centre of Migration Control, they included the fact that sexual offensive arrests are 3.5% more likely to be foreign national men than they are British men. And like I said, this isn't a left or right wing issue. This is an issue that concerns women's safety, young, vulnerable people's safety. And I, as a young woman myself, yes, I am a town councillor and I represent reform, but I also am really petrified. I am absolutely petrified to walk alone in London. I mean, I think that's just completely barbaric in a country that my great-grandfathers fought for.
Absolutely spot on. Listen, on that point, Annie, lovely to have you on for the first time. We will speak again, I hope. Annie May O'Neill, Reform Councillor for Epping, completing a trio of guests this afternoon. And this is the encouraging bit, separate to any of the specifics we've talked about. How good is it to see people, well, people of my age, really, getting involved in politics and current affairs? In fact, not just having an interest in it, but actively doing something about it, standing as councillors. I don't think you would have seen that story a few years ago. I think our next guest might be Bart Simpson. Who knows? We're just going, or maybe little Maggie, maybe. That's good. Listen, we've got loads to talk about here. 03444991000. One in here says, remember years ago, every new year you'd hear older people saying, I remember the days when you used to be able to leave your front door open. Times have changed, and this immigration problem is the same thing on just a bigger scale. British people are the most polite, kind-hearted, welcoming people in the whole of Europe. But there is a point when you have to close that door, put your foot down, and that time is now. And if you believe in national states and you believe in borders, you can't just say it and go, oh, that's all right, I believe in borders. And you've got to be able to qualify it, and you've got to be able to back it up. That's going to mean that governments, the government of the day, make decisions surrounding border control. Who can come in, who can't come in, what does a reasonable asylum policy look like? We know how this country responded to Ukraine as an obvious example. We all get it. We understand the need, and we have a deep, deep history in assistance to people from other places where there is a need. Reform aren't talking about getting rid of that desperate need, but this is the issue. We've suddenly put anyone who wants to come into this country in the same category as a very desperate, vulnerable person who's escaping a horrendous, murderous, dictatorial regime. And that clearly isn't the case. The 21st century, people are discerning. People will move around. If you're 23 and you live in Eritrea or Iran, it's just possible you might think, sod this for a laugh, I'm living in a hellhole, I want to live somewhere else. It's not meant to be a buffet of choice. That's not what an immigration policy is. That's an immigration policy gone wrong. That's someone taking advantage of the generosity of an immigration policy in order to try and get into another country based on the old kind of rule that if you're trying to get here, you must be desperate. That's BS, frankly. That doesn't exist anymore. You're trying to get here, you might be desperate, but you might also just want to improve your life. I'm not even saying you're a horrendous rapist or a killer. I'm not suggesting you're someone who doesn't want to go to work or look after yourself. I get all of that. That still doesn't alter the irredeemable reality that people in the 21st century will move around. We have a thing called the internet. What seemed impossible 10, 15 years ago even is now imminently possible. Yeah, I can travel around. I want to go somewhere. I want to start a new life. People wouldn't have considered that a couple of decades back. Today, that is completely doable. It's easy to stick that on your to-do list if you're a young, particularly a young man in some of those countries. And you go, do you know what? I fancy the UK. I'll give it a go. I come from a country that's not actually at war. I come from a country that is not ideal. I just don't like it very much. This place called the UK, and that would go for other European countries too, it looks like a tastier option.